Girl Scout Troop 1351.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to remember our troops abroad and their families still here at home. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Let's hear it for Julia. Next, we're going to get into our workshop discussion. Our first item is our Employee of the Month. If the council would please join up today for Employee of the Month presentation.
Mike, here you go.
I don't know where the months go. We just kidding.
So as everyone knows, we do a Employee of the Month every month. And I'm going to bring our Employee of the Month up first, and then I'm going to read some stuff about him. So let's hear it for our Employee of the Month. Most of you already know him, Franny Hines.
You work here?
He groomed his goatee tonight.
Where's coffee?
He must have known.
Really?
Well, let me tell you a little bit about Franny. Everyone knows Franny, but let me tell you anyway. So he's worked in the borough of Belmar for 28 years. Fran is a dedicated, loyal, and hardworking member of our Department of Public Works. Fran immediately responds to anyone having an issue, and I'm going to read a resident email. Fran absolutely and truly loves Belmar and is dedicated to ensuring that our parks and beaches are well maintained, safe, and beautiful. And Fran is also our OEM coordinator, head of the first aid, founded the Belmar Autism Surf Camp, and is a active member of Union Fire Company. So I just want to read a quick email that we received from a resident on 13th Avenue. Hi Matt, I had to send you a note to tell you a horrible situation I had Friday night that I quickly contacted when I called Franny Hines. How many times he has come to my rescue. He is simply amazing.
She's right.
Where's your wife? Your wife should be here. How lucky we are to have him here in Belmar, and yet one more instance of Belmar being the best place to live in the world. Thank him for the excellence. Thank him for the excellence we should never take for granted, and you for having such great people work here. Have a great day, Peg Barry.
Yeah, my girl.
She's on 13th Avenue. So let's hear it for Franny Hines, everybody. Where's your hat?
I've got it in my hat.
You get a hat?
This matches my shirt.
You get a gift certificate for Franny. This is lunch with me.
Lunch, right?
Yes. Hold on a second, we get more stuff. I am buying it. Somewhere cheap. I get two of them? Jeez. And then also, he gets $100 in Belmar bucks to spend any business in Belmar. Franny lives in Neptune City, but he's got, his brothers are also heavily involved in Belmar, and he does an amazing job for us. So, and you've seen him up here again. He's usually either giving checks or receiving checks from people that want to be a part of whatever Franny does, to be very honest with you. He's always successful. So let me turn the floor over to you, Franny. You want to say a few words?
Thanks a lot. You guys hoodwinked me. They didn't tell me I was coming here for this, but referring to the mayor's note that he got, since the storm, we've been dealing with some unscrupulous contractors. So if you need to hire a contractor for yourself, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, get somebody who's reputable and all. We saved a woman the other day from, I think, a $4,800 bill that she was getting for the shoddy work this guy did. So we pretty much ran him out of town. So please check with your friends and your neighbors to get somebody in that's good. And as far as the rest of the stuff, I don't know, I love this town and everybody in it, almost everybody. This is my life. This is my town. This is my town. So if you have issues or whatever, that's why I wear this shirt, and I'm here for you guys. So I'm all about you. I've been here all my life, so you're all my friends, and I treat you that way. So thanks, Matt. This is nice. Thank you.
President just wanted to say a few words about that as
Yeah,
well.
I just want to say, I grew up with the five Hines brothers, and there is not a family in Belmar that has helped the Belmar residents more than the Hines family. Clearly, how many first aid calls do you think you and your brothers have gone on?
I've been on probably 10,000,
Think about that.
literally.
You call them once, and it's a big deal to you, on 10,000 of them, and your four brothers, right? Plus they're on the first aid, the fire departments. Unbelievable family, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Brian also failed to mention that Franny's also the best looking of all four.
Right? I was going to bring it up.
Granted, Steve only has one eye, but. Next topic on our workshop discussion is a certification of a petition that our borough clerk received. Clerk?
On May 27, 2014, I received a petition seeking a referendum on ordinance number 2014-07 from a committee of petitioners consisting of Maureen Dean, Martha Masalco, Vincent Heeman, Patricia Vaughn, and James Kitchener, pursuant to NJSA 40:69A 187. I reviewed the petitions and hereby certify to the council that the petitions are sufficient. The council has 20 days from today's date to repeal the ordinance. If action is not taken on or before June 24, 2014, this matter will be submitted to the voters unless the petition is withdrawn by the petitioners.
Thank you. In anticipation of tonight, I contacted our borough attorney, well, not our borough attorney, our redevelopment attorney, one of our attorneys, Phil Northgrave, and asked him for a timeline based on the clerk's certification. So the timeline goes as follows. Today is June 4th. The petition is certified by our clerk to the council at our regular meeting. The council has until the 24th of June to repeal the ordinance. Assuming that doesn't happen, then the petitioners have until the 4th of July to withdraw their petition for a referendum. Assuming that doesn't happen, then the election, this is a special election, it's not going to be in November. This is a special election. The election must be held no less than 40 nor more than 60 days from the final date for the withdrawal of the petition, unless an election were to be held within 90 days of the last day for withdrawal, which in this case will not occur. So we just had the primary yesterday. And the next election is more than 90 days. So this special election will take place, we'll pick a date, between August 13th and September 2nd. Talking with folks in the county, this special election, this referendum, will cost the taxpayers in the borough of Belmar approximately $20,000 for this special election. As the mayor, I personally think that's a tremendous waste of taxpayer dollars. In a lot of ways, I think this election was settled last November, but unless the petitioners withdraw their petition, the borough taxpayers will be paying $20,000 for this. It'll be like any other election, so the polls open at 6 a.m., they close at 8 p.m. I imagine there'll be campaigns on both sides. The one group of folks that this probably affects the most, more than anyone else, are the folks that live around Lake Como. It affects them because we always told people that there is no joining of any bond ordinance for the pavilions or any bond ordinance to fix Lake Como. This is an unprecedented protest petition against a bond ordinance for a capital improvement. If we're going to start going down this road in an effort to save $20,000 for special elections, you know, we're going to have to start looking at doing bond referendums questions at either the primary or the general. If we did that, then clearly we couldn't do anything on Lake Como until after this November. And one of the things we also told the folks that live around Lake Como was that Belmar wanted to take the lead. However, if you put these questions to a vote, there's a chance they lose. So instead of the mayor and council being able to take the lead on it, we follow this unprecedented. But if we follow something like this and put these things to referendum, there's a chance they get shot down. And typically speaking, if you think about a lot of the bonding we've done, it benefits a certain section of town. So, recently we did a bond for the water sewer, because there are parts of town that had brown water. Other parts of town didn't. Most of the town didn't have a problem with their water. The whole town, all of our water rates are going to go up 15% to pay off the bonds to fix the water for certain areas of town. If you put something like that up to a referendum, there's a chance that gets shot down. So I would tell you that the folks that this most immediately impacts are the folks that live around Lake Como, which is very unfortunate, but it's just a matter of fact. Again, we're going to look to schedule this election as soon as possible, assuming that the petitioners don't withdraw their petition. And again, just so all taxpayers are aware, this special election is going to cost somewhere around $20,000. So I appreciate the clerk doing her job at certifying everything.
I have a question on this.
Sure.
Does it have to be a special election?
Yes.
It cannot wait till November?
No, it cannot. State statute 40:69A:191 dictates the time frame. So it has to occur, assuming the petitioners do not withdraw it by the 4th of July, that it has to occur between August 13th and September 2nd, again at a cost of $20,000 to the taxpayers of the Borough of Belmar.
Matt, I know you're upset about the $20,000, but I'm very confident that the referendum will pass by the voters. Easily will pass, and we'll be able to get building right in September. I just want to be certain that they can't push it off to November, because if they push it off to November, we're not going to have a pavilion up there next summer. If we have this election in August, we'll have a pavilion there next summer, which is what I think the vast majority of people want. And I'm all for the people voting, because I think it'll prove that we were right, that Belmar needs these pavilions. And so let the people talk. $20,000 I think is not a lot of money to prove that we're going in the right direction.
We spent that on beach balls in the last 2 years.
I think
Those you spent $5,000 over 2 years, that total $10,000.
You're right, I'm sorry, I take it back, it was $5,000. You're right.
And it came out of tourism, did not come out of tax dollars. To be clear, this is coming from the taxpayers, not of Monmouth County. This is coming from the taxpayers of the Borough of Belmar on an election that, in all honesty, Council President, you settled last November when you and your fellow running mate won over your opponents who were opposed to rebuilding the pavilion. So we've already had this election. So to me, what's disturbing, it's unfortunate that we have to go through this process. It's going to politicize, just like it's a campaign, folks. It's an election. You're going to have Democrats saying one thing, that we should pass this, the Republicans saying another thing, that we shouldn't pass it. So you're going to have a regular old-fashioned campaign, and it's going to cost you $20,000 more than if you didn't have it. And at the same time, it sets a terrible precedent about this council's ability to bond to make capital improvements for other areas of town. So that's really but I agree with you. I think it passes as well.
No offense, I disagree with you. In the sense that this is not going to come down to Democrat versus Republican. This is going to come down to people in Belmar wanting the pavilions. There's going to be an awful lot of Republicans voting for the pavilions. There's going to be an awful lot of Democrats voting for the pavilions. I think it's going to win hands down easily. I'm perfectly confident. I don't think it should be a political party campaign. I'm happy to have this election because it'll more than verify the fact that we were right to go with this last year. I mean, I spent an awful lot of time last year trying to get this together. And, you know, they give them credit where credit is due. They went through the channels, they challenged it, and now we have to do it over again. But the one thing I don't want them pushing it off to November so that we go another summer without these pavilions. Very, very important that we have this special election to prove that we're right.
Right, and just so we're clear, legally, we could push it off to November to save the $20,000.
Great, great.
Repeat that?
We, the governing body, cannot push this off till November legally, because the state statute that the petitioner used, that I'm sure they knew, requires this to be a special election to cost an extra $20,000 to taxpayers.
I don't think it's a lot of money to prove that Belmar residents, Democrats, Republicans, independents, whatever your political ideology, wants the pavilions. Yeah, so, you know, I don't want a judge in Freehold telling us we can't have a pavilion who never lived in Belmar. I want the people in Belmar deciding what we build.
And by the way, this is for both pavilions, the Taylor Pavilion and the 10th Avenue Public Safety Pavilion.
Great, great.
All right, any other workshop discussions? None? Any petitions for the mayor and council? Reports of mayor and council.
That fast, huh?
Council President, we're putting you on the spot quick. Council President McGovern.
All right. First, I want to thank Neil Scheck from the Shade Tree Commission. He walks around town and he brings a pair of clippers with him, and he's been pruning the trees along Main Street, and he's gone over to Doughboy Park and he's pruned the trees over there, all on his own free time. And so he told me today, he gave me a list of trees on Main Street that need to be, I guess, replaced. I don't know where he finds the time, but he does a great job, and I just want to thank Neil Scheck. The beach report, we are ahead of last year. I'm not going to go into how much we're ahead. We've sold more season badges at this point, more daily badges, more senior badges. We're ahead of last year, but it's still a long ways to go. So I don't want to jinx us. We'll probably jump further ahead during the month of June because last year there were so many rainy days in June. But we really won't tell how well we're doing until Labor Day, right? But I do question why the Asbury Park Press in Sunday's paper listed the best beaches in New Jersey. That's fine. But why did they ever publish the worst beaches in Belmar? And how's that going to help? Seriously. And was it a scientific poll? Did Monmouth University do it? Did Quinnipiac University do it? Or did some reporter from Asbury Park walk down to the ocean front and ask a couple of people? And where did they ask? Who did they ask? What were the questions? How many questions did these people have to answer? And they came up with Belmar and Seagirt as the 4th and 5th worst beaches in New Jersey. Thank you, Asbury Park Press. Way to help the local economy. I mean, that's I can't believe it. Also, I'm on a rant now. Thanks to the Bank of Not Belmar, who has closed their bank on Main Street, now has closed their ATM, but has opened it on Main Street. It's real easy to drive up to it, you know, during the day, because those cars parked right in front of it, they're not a problem for you. Going up to the ATM and getting your money out while someone's walking behind you, that's a good idea. I bet you the senior citizens really like that. And when it's raining out, their overhang, that's really gonna help us instead of walking into a little vestibule. Fortunately, I have a debit card, Central Jersey Bank over here, where at nighttime I can go in and you're locked in there and you're safe with your money. Thank you. Now my daughter works for Bank of America. She's gonna hear about it, but not that she can do anything. What a dumb idea. For those of you that are wondering about the contemporary art at Silver Lake, okay, it's, I don't understand it. But there are going to be about 40 pieces of contemporary art structures exhibited at Silver Lake for the month of August. I know, to me, it looks like the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz got into an accident. But I don't understand. It should look nice. I'm glad it's only temporary. Okay, I can live with that across the street for the month of August. But a lot of people have been asking me about that. So now that my rant's over, that's my report.
Thank you for your rant.
Oh, can't believe it.
Councilwoman Kim Blackburn, would you like to rant?
No rants. The Memorial Day service was very, very nice. It seems like it's larger every year, and it's wonderful to see so many people come out and both respect the firefighters here in town and the members of the VFW and the veterans who are there. And also a thank you to the Belmar Arts Council and the Historic Society, because they always have coffee and Danish after at the BAC. So it's a very nice morning. Speaking of Memorial Day, it was wonderful. We tried to ride our bicycles down Ocean Avenue. The place was packed. It was great to see so many people in town. We went out to dinner one night. That was a mistake, and but it was fantastic to see the numbers of people that were here enjoying our town. Belmar Council of Churches is still having their food drive. There are 4 boxes around town. Please put something in them for us. The boxes are here in Town Hall. There's one at the library, there's one at Stay Gold, and there's one at Frederico's. They'll be there until the 25th of June, and as I stated at the last meeting, all of the food stays here in Belmar for the food banks here in Belmar. The Mayor's Ball was very, very nice last Friday night. When I heard it was going to be in a tent, I kind of went, but it was absolutely beautiful. The decorating committee did a fantastic job. It was large enough. Everybody seemed to have room. Very, very nice evening. Belmar Women's Club Flower Show is June 11th. There's still another day or two. If you have not signed up and you do want to go to it, please see Claire Dykey. She's sitting over there. The senior luncheon is June the 18th here in Town Hall in the community room, 11 a.m. And lastly, July the 19th on the beach, we will have Choose Your Cover. They've been doing it the last couple of years, skin cancer screening. So very, very important. We will make sure that all of our lifeguards and the people who work on the boardwalk get there. But please, it's a free skin cancer screening, so please come down. We're looking at probably up in the Fifth Avenue area, so July the 19th. And that's everything I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Meade.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want a quick complaint about the, on the agenda, the resolution adopting the budget wasn't added till today. I've actually had people call me and ask, are we voting on the budget this meeting? I said, I don't think so. We're going over it, but it's not on a resolution. If we could just, try to get things updated a little faster. Also, the bill pay list came in at 5:05 today, so which is 55 minutes. April did print it out for me. I wasn't able to go through it, but let's try not to throw this stuff on us at the last minute. VFW, great job at the Memorial Day. I'm excited for the Seafood Fest coming up this coming weekend, and also my wife will be working the Michael's Feet tent. So if you want to stop in and see what's going on there, you're more than welcome. Her name is Tracy, and looking forward to everything. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nicolay.
Seafood Fest is next weekend.
Yes.
Right? Okay, yeah, not this one, but next one. Just a couple updates. Belmar Recreation, the full year toddler time registration will take place on Thursday, June 19th, 9:30 to 11. Belmar residents are free and non-residents are $25. Tonight they're actually doing the registrations for the soccer for the fall, so that takes place next door. Belmar Elementary, the commencement for the class of 2014 will be June 18th, Wednesday at 6:30. Mrs. Melissa Murphy was honored at the May Board of Ed meeting for her distinction as the Monmouth County State Teacher of the Year Award. Melissa Murphy. She will be competing against 20 other teachers for the honor for the State Teacher of the Year. Belmar Elementary School also honored Mrs. Rochelle Rotaco for her dedication and leadership in the redevelopment of the school and community garden. Being part of the BBP, I'm very proud that we have Matisse back in town. Excited about Federici's. I've only been there 12 times. It's been open 9 days. The BBP also went live with our first billboard. It's actually a picture of 3 pieces. It's the beach, a picture of the restaurant, and the marina. So it's a great ad, and I've had a lot of people tell me that they're excited that they've seen it. Cruise night will be Thursday, June 19th. Sorry, Councilman McGovern, but I like the art. I think it's fun, I think it's different, I think it's colorful, I think it turns your eye to look at the lake. But we all have our little artistic opinions. I want to say thank you very much personally. My son had a terrible accident, and the EMT and our police department were unbelievable. Can't even express how painful. And the mayor's ball was phenomenal, thanks to Randall and Sweet and Ted Pavarita, thank you, and to Home for playing. There was a lot of dancing, my feet still hurt. And we raised a lot of money for the Belmar Youth Club, which I'm very proud of. I think it's all in ShopRite gift cards, so I'm just kidding. But anyway, but it was wonderful. And anybody that did not attend, if you guys could attend next year, you will not be sorry. It was great. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with my comments saying I have seen the art at the lake. Like Council President McGovern, I have no understanding of what the heck it is, but I do fake to appreciate it really well, because I'm sure someone put a tremendous amount of time and effort into it, and if I knew anything about art, I'm sure it would be incredible. But since I'd rather watch the Mets play baseball, you can tell I know nothing about art.
You Philistine.
I want to thank everyone who came out. This was kind of a different event. Boomer and Carton came to Belmar the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, and they were broadcasting live from DJs, starting at 6 a.m. And who knows how popular these people are, these guys were, but people started lining up at 3:10 a.m. To get in. It was standing room only in the front. Some people were able to stand for a while, some were not. They were go sit down somewhere. But it was a great way to highlight our town and kick off the summer season. Governor Christie came and joined us as well. We unveiled our story of the boardwalk. That's going to be permanent, I think, on 10th Avenue. Are we going to put it? Where are we going to put that, you think?
We talked both about 10th Avenue or doing it right at the south start of the boardwalk, so that when people are coming up from, I guess it would be Spring Lake, that they would see it right there when they entered the boardwalk, which I kind of like that idea too.
And this is going to be a plaque that's we're going to put on rocks that DPW,
J
rocks that DPW has. So he helped us unveil that. In addition, whenever we have an opportunity to talk to the governor, we always ask about reimbursements, FEMA reimbursements. So the way it works is FEMA comes to Belmar, they put together project worksheets, they submit them to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. releases the money to Trenton, and then Trenton seems to sit on the money for multiple months before little old towns like us get it. So one of the items we asked them for was to expedite some of the money that's sitting there, literally sitting for us. Once we get that money, it allows us, and we explained it to the governor, allows us to pay down our outstanding debt. By paying down the debt, especially in this year, because we've already budgeted for the debt service, it would help us roll some money into surplus for next year, by taking off those debt payments for 6 or 5 months out of the year. I also want to thank everyone for being very patient regarding our water project. It's taken longer than we expected. It's really an inconvenience to folks who live in those areas. But the places where they have finished it, the water is remarkably cleaner, and a lot of times the pressure's a lot better too. Just a couple updates on this though. The Rhode Island Point section, it should be pretty much done at this point. You may have seen 16th Avenue closed down a few times. Again, it's an inconvenience for all of us, but just how important clean water is. Surf Avenue, the service installation continues, and also the water infrastructure for 7th Avenue is also done. And I want to echo the comments about the Mayor's Ball, but also one of the really great events we had was the day before. We had the kids' Mayor's Ball, which was sort of a first. One of the last things we did a couple of years ago before the pavilion, the Ted Hale Pavilion was torn down, was a daddy-daughter dance, and it was a huge success. We haven't had anything like that since, so we brought about the Kids Mayor's Ball, and Councilman Nicolay was very helpful and instrumental in bringing that about, and we had an outstanding turnout for that, and some very happy kids. And lastly, and to end on a very positive note, during my report, I'm going to ask the Friendly Sons of the Shillelagh president, Matt Sharon, to come forward to the microphone. They contacted me a couple of weeks ago and said that they had financial resources for some families in town. And we gave the name of 5 families that we know of that could really use some financial assistance now. And the Shillelagh is kind enough and gracious enough to provide each one of those families with checks for $2,000. So let's hear it from Matt Chairman, want to say a few words?
Just on behalf of the Friendly Sons, we're just glad to help out the community. Tonight I have 4 of the 5 checks, each one totaling $2,000. The next one will be tomorrow night, but the check writer ran out of checks. But on behalf of the Friendly Sons, if you could see that these residents you identified as needing help, make sure they get them.
Absolutely. And thank you very much. And again, I've said this a few times that, we don't have an Elks, we don't have a Boost, we don't have a lot of other organizations that other towns have. But what we do have is we have a Friendly Sons of Shillelagh that are so generous in their money and helping our town. Although I will tell you that when Matt called me about this yesterday, he also did make sure to point out the pothole in front of his house. So, Franny, we need to fix a pothole in front of 512 7th. Anyone who comes with checks will always fix your potholes. But let's hear it one more time for the guys in the show. And that's all for me. Next, approval of the minutes.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 20th, 2014 be approved as recorded, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Second.
Councilwoman Kell Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next is our public session on our resolution calendar. Included in the resolution calendar, you're going to see the 2014 budget and budget amendment hearing. So what we'll do is we'll open this up for public comment or questions on all the resolutions, and then we'll go to the hearing and allow public comment or questions after our CFO makes her presentation. So even though it looks like it's the second item after the resolution introducing the 2014 budget amendment, it doesn't make sense. We're not going to have any questions on it until we see the presentation. So let's go through, if the council's all right, let's go through the public portion for the resolution calendar, including the consent agenda first. Then we'll have the one vote on the amended 2014 budget. Then we'll have the hearing, and then we'll go back to public comment after the CFO's presentation. Make sense? Okay, so the floor is open, just raise your hand, wait to be called on. Any public comment questions on the resolution calendar, holding off the budget hearing?
Just resolution.
Just resolutions, yes.
Mike Seebeck, 22nd Avenue, good evening, Mayor Doherty, Council. Mayor Doherty, could you just provide some explanation on the resolution regarding the settlement of the lawsuit? What the circumstances were regarding that, and could you clarify some information I heard third party about, where the building of the marina building stands, if that's going to go forth?
Well, I'll answer your question on resolution, right? The building is not part of the resolution calendar. But what your question is on the settlement. So, Prominent Properties sued Chefs International and named us in the lawsuit. Chefs International is settling with Prominent Properties, and they're going to pay them. Now, we're not paying them anything, but since we were named, we also have to agree to the settlement. So it doesn't cost us anything, and Chefs pays for it, and then it goes away.
So we weren't involved in contractually at all with Prominent Properties, or we didn't have any arrangement with them?
Never.
No, they're just operating as a private broker, I take it, or?
This is one private entity suing another private entity, naming us. But again, we're not paying any portion of this. It doesn't affect our insurance in any way. I think we had a settlement last time. You remember, like, the insurance company told us, look, settle instead of going to court.
Well, we were sued directly on that one, I believe we were called, right?
Right, we were sued directly, but in that case, we actually paid. In this case, we're not paying anything. We just have to agree to the settlement, and if Chefs wants to settle, why wouldn't we agree?
I was just wondering why we would even be named party, as a result of sovereign immunity, I would feel that we wouldn't be at all even liable.
You'd have to ask Prominent Properties why they sued us, or why they named us in the lawsuit. But again, we're not in any way paying Prominent Properties.
Does this change our relationship with Chefs International at all in terms of contracts or anything?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no others, I'll close the public portion for the resolution calendar, and then we'll reopen it after the budget hearing, if anyone has any questions or comments on that. So I'll make a motion to close the public portion for the resolution calendar only.
All in favor?
Aye. Next is the resolution introducing the 2014 budget as amended, or the amendment. So we introduced it last time. We submitted it to the DCA. They came back to us with some changes. Robin, you want to, it's really kind of clerical, if you don't mind explaining to the council.
Yeah, just there were a couple amendments on the budget. No bottom line total change. The one issue was the library tax. We have a separate library tax, library line item in our budget, is $512,000. Their budget this year is actually $533,000 to cover some health insurance payments. We had that total as $533,000. They wanted to see only the $513,000 that the maximum library or minimum library tax is supposed to be. So we just had to move $20,000 from that to our municipal tax. It's actually still a zero tax increase. When you add the two together, just had to flip one line to the other. The other issue was just the surplus. We had to change both in the water and in the current fund. We have what's called cash and non-cash surplus. They wanted to see those two numbers split out. It all has to be approved by the director, and it was all approved by the director. But nothing bottom line numbers changed in the budget. It was just them wanting to reclassify it under a couple of different items. That's what the amendment is for.
Any members of the council have any questions regarding this resolution? I mean, again, it's more clerical than anything else. All right, I will offer and move the resolution introducing the 2014 budget amendment.
Second?
Councilwoman Keough Blackford?
Yes.
Councilman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. We're going to skip the first resolution underneath the resolutions adopting the 2014 budget amendment until we have the hearing. So let's skip to the next one, where it's a resolution authorizing payment of bills list. I'll offer. We'll do the resolution calendar.
Got it.
We'll do right on the way. Clerk?
Do we have a second?
Yes. Right.
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Real quick, the marina dock repairs, what docks were repaired?
That's our concrete dock repair work. It's various docks affected throughout the marina, and this is a time payment for them.
Is this part of I guess I understand we're paying now, but then due to Sandy
Oh, this
or
is all Sandy recovery.
Sandy recovered. The engineering services for Mazer,
Mhm.
from the hurricane, we're just, okay. Engineering, Marina, Silver Lake, Hurricane Capital, 528. They just saved all their bills for one big hit,
No, we just paid them for that.
one big shot. And what's the 178,000 A Street drainage improvement?
I believe that payment is to P&A for the drainage project from Silver Lake to Shark River.
Okay, and this comes out of our bond, of course.
It's a time payment, yeah.
And I just got this at 5:05 today, so. And you know what, we have Klein the Brady's again. I can't vote on people I don't know, so I'm gonna abstain on this one. Okay.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next is the resolution authorizing the settlement with prominent properties on
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Why were we sued again for this?
We were named in a lawsuit.
Well, why? Why were we sued?
You'd have to ask prominent properties.
Well, I'm a defendant in this. This is the first time I'm seeing this, so I'd like to know why they're suing me.
You'd have to ask.
Well, give me their number. I'm serious. You know, if you're gonna put this in front of me and go, hey, you got sued, but we took care of it, don't worry about it, I feel kind of uncomfortable. And if we all vote no, does Chef still pay? I mean, I don't understand why we're even involved. If Chef International's paying the bill, who cares if we vote on this?
It's really more a formality than anything else. We just, I guess if we vote no, then they're not able to settle.
I find that hard to believe. You know, I can't vote on this A or nay. First I'm seeing it. First I'm getting information on it. I'm staying.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next resolution, I must recuse myself.
For the resolution authorizing the issuance of a club license to the Order of the Friendly Sons of Shillelagh for a period ending June 30th, 2015. Have a motion?
Second?
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay, you need to step up for the next one. Resolution authorizing issuance of a club license to the Belmar Fishing Club for a period ending June 30th, 2015. I'll offer.
Second.
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. And just note for the record that Councilwoman Nicolay recused herself in several days. Next is a resolution awarding a contract for website hosting, design, and maintenance. I'll offer.
Second?
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
This did go up the bid, correct?
RFP, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Last, I'll offer the consent agenda.
We just have to make one change.
The consent agenda?
Yes, the resolution authorizing the liquor license for Jack's Tavern. needs to-
Oh, we're taking that off.
Yes.
All right, I will offer to remove the resolution for Jack's Tavern from the consent agenda.
Second?
Councilman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Just wondering why.
They do not have their tax clearance from the state of New Jersey yet.
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. So now I will offer for adoption the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilwoman Keeler Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. So now let's go back to the front. which is the 2014 budget and budget amendment hearing.
It's right there.
Robin, you have the floor?
Sure.
Wait.
Yeah, I just don't want to blind you. And a slideshow. And a quick slideshow. As in every year, I stand up here and I tell you all about what's in this year's budget, give a quick presentation. This is required by the state of New Jersey, that I tell you basics about the budget, and then also show you like some slides that will give you some graphs over the past 5 years as to what the budget has been over the past 5 years. So in this year's budget, the total municipal budget for the borough of Belmar is just over $23 million. Our budget is actually broken down into 4 separate utilities. The current fund is just over $15 million. That covers things like the police department, your Department of Public Works, your tax department, your municipal court. Our water and sewer utility is just over $3 million. The bulk of that does go to outside agencies, New Jersey American, New Jersey Water Supply Authority, also South Monmouth Regional Sewage Authority. Over 66% of that budget actually does go to outside agencies. Our beach utility is $4.8 million. That, of course, is to take care of everything down the beachfront. As we go further in the slides, I'll break this down and go over each one a little bit more. And we do also have our parking utility, $94,000. That's for those kiosks that you all see down the beachfront and hopefully are putting money in. The first part of the budget I'll go over will be our current fund. Okay? In accordance with the state of New Jersey best practices, they break our budget down into certain categories. The first category of the current fund would be our other expenses, $7.3 million. That goes to cover things such as our garbage and trash, our recycling, police officers, we buy the guns, don't give them bullets though. Computers for the borough, things like that, that's what's covered under other expense type items. Also, a large part of that is our health benefit costs and our pension costs. It's probably close to $2 million of that money. Salary wages in the current fund are $4.6 million. That's about 81% of our full-time staff is covered by that number. The other, say 20% or 17% are covered in the water and in the beach utility. Capital and debt, $1.6 million. $600,000 of that is actually going towards some of our Sandy debt. Money we've received in from FEMA and things like that. The remainder of that is going towards debt that we've had ongoing for like road projects, things like that. Reserve for uncollected taxes, $796,000. For those of you not ever seen in my slideshow before, what that is if somebody doesn't pay their taxes, we still need the money because we have to pay the school and the county. So we have to budget for people potentially not paying their taxes. That number has actually gone down $40,000 this year because everybody was better and everybody paid their taxes last year. Not everybody. 96.4% of the taxes did come in last year. Library, $533,000. That is separated by the state. It actually shows up separately on your tax bill. That's how much it is budgeted for the library. Deferred charges. That is actually the down payment we made last year on the Silver Lake A Street line project, putting the new storm drain in on Silver Lake. The other side of the budget, where do we get the money from? In the current fund, we do bill, all of you great folks, $7.2 million in taxes. That is the same amount and the tax rate is the same this year. There is no increase in the tax rate. Local revenues, $3.6 million. This is a combination of a lot of items, and traditional court fees, it's part of the concession fees that we take in, buying some costs, bulk stickers that you all buy, things like that. Surplus, this year we are using $1.7 million of surplus. $1.6 million of that is coming directly from the current fund. $26,000 of that is coming from our general capital account. We have received a premium on a note that was sold and we're taking that in. I'll go into a little bit more detail on the surplus in another slide. Marina slip rentals, $1,050,000 we take in over at the marina. That is part of our current fund budget. Delinquent taxes, these are the people who didn't pay last year, that 4%. $625,000 will come in this year. State aid, same number of nobody noticed for a long time. $423,499 we will be getting from the state of New Jersey. Into local services, that is where we share things with other towns. We have our municipal court, our finance department, some DPW items. $340,000 other towns will pay us for us to provide services that we share with them. Grants, there's only one grant this year in the budget, it's $15,000. That's a Clean Communities grant, helps with our recycling efforts, things like that. And the construction code department, $67,000. That's for other permits that you would pay to the construction department. The next slide will actually show our surplus for the last 5 years. Our surplus in our current fund on January 1st was just over $2 million. In this year's budget, we will be using $1.6 million of that. One thing you will notice in all of our surplus slides going throughout the budget, we're kind of doing this over the past year or two. I am seeing that in most of the towns because of the Hurricane Sandy issues. We're using a little, revenues dropped down a little bit the year after Hurricane Sandy, and now they're going to come back up a little. So you will see a couple dips and slides over the last couple of years. Last year, we did use less surplus because we had other revenues we were taking in through a loan. So we reserved our surplus, so we didn't have to use it in case we needed it. So we are using it this year, but as you can see, we're not really going up to the top. We're actually keeping another $300,000 in reserve so that if we need it again next year, we'll have it. Our water and sewer budget. Other expenses is the larger chunk of this budget. $2.4 million. As I said in the first slide, $2,021,000 of that $2.4 million is actually paid out to other agencies. New Jersey American Water, New Jersey Water Supply Authority, and South Monmouth Regional Sewage Authority. I do apologize. I'll stand here and say it. I'm the one that asked them to do a 15% rate increase to cover this budget this year. Our SMRSA bill did go up slightly, but we're also going to hope, as this rate increase takes effect both this year and then going into next year for a full year, we'll be increasing that capital and debt line to pay for these projects that we've currently started. Salary wage, $219,000. That actually covers parts of the salaries of 3 of our Department of Public Works and our 1 licensed water operator that we have to have on staff. Our revenues. Our revenues for this year, as you can see, is the blue line. We're ticking it up. That's because of the rate increase, $2.6 million. I'm not going to say this, don't conserve on water because then I'll have to raise it again next year. But, only kidding. So hopefully we'll take in more and we'll start paying for this water and sewer then. Surplus, $340,000. That is the burgundy line. Actually, in our surplus, we've been trying to stay steady in our water and sewer utility. Water and sewer, like any other utility, the beach, anything, as the weather changes, so does our surplus. If it rains a lot, nobody waters their lawn, we don't collect the water. So our water and sewer is very dependent on the weather, besides other things. Reserve for capital, $55,000. This is money that had been returned to us from South Monmouth Regional Sewage Authority on a debt payment that we owe to them, so we're using it in this year's budget to balance some things out. Surplus in the water and sewer utility. Okay, surplus in the water and sewer utility, $391,000 at the beginning of the year. We are using $340,000 of that. As you can see, starting in like 2010, not the first year, but kind of going forward, that yellow line, although it did go up a little bit in 11, we've been doing our best to try to keep this as steady as possible so that hopefully we won't need any other major rate increases, keeping that surplus on an even keel. The beach utility. Our beach utility is broken down into salary wages, largest part of the budget, $2.3 million. We do employ a couple hundred people down there every summer, most of them local residents. Majority of them budget is to go to the salaries for the lifeguards, the gate attendants, the beach cleaners, things like that. Other expenses, $1.1 million. That goes to clean the beach, buying the garbage cans, buying the garbage bags, all the things, some of the equipment for the specials, things like that. Capital and debt, $1.3 million. $1 million of this is going towards our Hurricane Sandy expenses and paying off debt. We also have an additional $500,000 going towards that debt out of the firework campaign. Beach utility surplus, $1.7 million. A couple of items on this one. One is the yellow, which is, I apologize, let me go to the blue line first. Surplus. Same thing happened last year as in the current fund as in the beach utility. We had some other revenues coming in, some assistance from federal agencies, which allowed us to not use as much surplus as we typically would have last year. So we were able to not use as much surplus last year. This year, we're going back up. The blue line, as you can see, trends back a couple of years. We're going back up to our normal use of surplus. It did recoup last year. As long as we have good weather, we would hope that it would recoup again this year. The blue line you're seeing on there is reserved for debt payment. That's the lighter blue line. You'll see for the past 2 years, we have budgeted $2 million each year, which was money we received in from to go towards our debt payments. One thing I can tell you on the especially beach utility up and down, a lot of places, you're seeing our budgets go this way. It's because we have to keep funding all of these payments that FEMA pays us through our budgets. So although they look like they're higher, it's because we have to put all that money through our budget to make these payments. Beach surplus, we had $2 million at the end of the year. We're using 1.7. Again, we are leaving ourselves about $300,000. If we were to have maybe, as Brian said, a rainy June like last year, we fall short a couple $100,000. We know we've got that going into next year. Again, I hope we all do have a good summer. It started out great, better than last Memorial Day. Parking utility. Parking utility is the smallest budget that we have. It's $94,000. Again, that's the parking kiosks that you see down there. We did have a high expense last year to replace those. Those were not damaged during Sandy or anything like that. We just decided to go to a new mode where we could take credit card payments, things like that. So we did have a slightly higher budget last year to get that up and running. But the other thing that happened with that last year is that we didn't have the revenue come in, because by the time we got everything up and running down there, we had lost a few weeks of that revenue. So we did see an actual decrease in our surplus. If we can go to the next slide. Parking meter fees, $74,000. The only surplus we're using in this budget this year is $20,000. That's the burgundy line. The burgundy line from last year was actually money we had accumulated over several years in our surplus account and hadn't used it, knowing that we'd be going to that new system and we would have that money to pay for it. There we go. So as you can see, we were ticking up. We were trying to regenerate our yellow line there and try to save some money on surplus and have more year after year. So that last year, we could actually use it. So this year, we do need less because we have put the bulk of the money into those, although we do have a 5-year lease payment on those. We did have to do some other work down there last year to get those installed. So that is a basic overall of what our budget's been. As you can see, the trends and the lines on those charts over the past 5 years. At this point, if the mayor and council wanted to open up to the public hearing, any questions can be addressed to the council?
Yes, so if anyone has a public comment question, please raise your hand, you can call it in front, ask your question through me. If I don't know the answer, I'll defer to our CFO to answer. Yes, Council.
Yes, excellent presentation. I just wondered how the state aid is applied, where that is applied.
We get $458,000 a year, I believe,
Yes,
on
I
the
saw
slide. It just comes in as a general part of our revenues.
But it's not actually state aid.
Right.
They label it state aid, but
Yeah.
really we get, outside of the utility tax, what do we get from the state?
I think it's like $17,000 now.
We get $17,000 from the state of New Jersey. The other money you see up there, the other portion of that, $430,000, is what folks like JCP&L, Verizon, all those folks pay to be on our polls. We have lots of polls in town, and they pay the state. The state in turn gives us the money, and they say that it's state aid.
Interesting.
It's not. It's basically their rent payments for being on our right.
Thank you.
Sure, good question. Any other comments, questions? Yes, Mr. Chairman. Come up front.
One question.
Just come up, Ray, just otherwise we'll have everyone sitting down,
Sir.
yelling all over the place. Just name, address for the
Peter
record.
Byro, 300 North Boulevard, Belmar. The extra payment made to SMERSA, is that for repayment for the pumps that they brought in during Hurricane Sandy?
This was a refinancing on, we did an I&I project, infiltration. This goes back actually about 10 years ago. They did a refinancing on that and we're able to lower the interest payment. So that's what it was for.
Now, but one of the things that Robin mentioned before too is the state of New Jersey requires, and think about this for a second, requires that we put in the budget any expenditure to pay down debt. One of the things I mentioned before, the governor's here, we're talking about money that's being held up at the state. Let's say, and again, right now the budget's $23 million. Let's say the state releases $6 million of those federal dollars to Belmar. We use that $6 million immediately to pay down a debt. That will increase our budget from $23 million to $29 million. So it's kind of an odd way of accounting for it, but technically they're right. We are spending more, but really we're just paying down a debt. So I would anticipate seeing this budget increase, hopefully, significantly by the end of this year as money comes in to pay down the debt that we accumulated. David?
Thank you. Yeah, hi, David Schneck, 302 C Street. I have a question about the beach salaries. I don't know who would be the most expertise to answer this, whether it would be Robin. But the salaries total was like a little over, what was it, 2.3 million for the beach utility? Is that right? And
Yes.
can anyone make a guesstimate? Like you have the cost of the lifeguards, the cost of cleaning and grooming the beach, and then you have the cost of checking to make of collecting the revenue for the beach. So it would be the badge checkers,
There
and
are
the
four
badge
expenses.
sellers.
Right, there's the beach badge checkers and the sellers, there's the Department of Public Works that cleans up the beach.
Right.
There are the lifeguards who provide
Right,
public safety.
yeah.
And then there are police that are
Right.
against the beach utility as well. So there's those four components.
Right, and the police actually do spend a fair amount of time enforcing, the badges, just walking around checking to see if, people have badges. Mostly when they're walking around, they're looking for people drinking maybe, hopefully they're not looking for people smoking. But
Just for
mostly they're checking, by the way, I ordered a vaporizer, try that out. So if you ever outlaw vaporizer,
Well, I will tell you that the
Explode.
state of New Jersey, the Assembly and Senate, passed whatever legislation, and they are going to
Yeah, well-
outlaw
well, they're jerks,
e-cigarettes.
They're all jerks. They just knee jerk. They don't even look into it. They just, no, we better not let them do that, So anything that they wouldn't do, they want to make illegal for everybody. But I don't want to get off the
Yeah,
subject.
back on point of the.
Yeah, please. No, I'm just wondering, like, what percentage of that 2.3, little over 2.3 million for salaries is involved in collecting revenue? You have you have the badge checkers, the badge sellers, the cost of buying the badges themselves, manufacturing them, right? And then you have the cost of police enforcement, looking around, walking around, checking everything. That's very high labor cost, the police are very highly paid. So I'm just wondering if anyone could sort of put a rough number on what percentage of that 2.3 million is spent just in collecting the revenue for the beach.
Well, I will tell you, enforcement, the police you see out there are special ones and special twos. They're not paid like regular police officers. They're paid significantly less. They don't have benefits. They're
Well, I've seen some regular officers out there too. At our end of the beach, is that, I don't know his name, that older fellow with the white hair and the mustache. He's a regular cop.
Yeah, no, he's a special one.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
But just so people know, we're not taking regular police officers and putting them on the beach to enforce either smoking bans or beach badges. It's purely seasonal.
Okay, good.
Again,
That's good.
don't get any benefits, they're much less expensive.
Okay, good.
Do we have a line item in the budget? Does it break it down?
Anyone care to?
I don't think it breaks it down that specifically in the budget as far as how much is going towards beach badge.
I think you'd want to get it to them.
Yeah, we can get it.
One of the things that just cost
Checkers.
everybody, I don't know who would break that down or add it up, is that on the enforcement side, specifically police officers, I do understand what you're saying, they are out there enforcing beach badges, but they're also out there enforcing other laws on the beach.
Right.
So they would have to be there whether they had beach badges or not. There's alcohol in public, there's other things that go on the beach that the police officers need to be there for.
All right, but we
So,
still have the
take them all
checkers.
out, that's what I'm saying.
How many, we still have a lot of jobs that are checkers and a lot of jobs that are sellers,
Yes.
and the cost of manufacturing the badges themselves.
Right.
It
I mean,
has to be-
it'd be hard to get
The
it to
reason
you
why I'm
right now.
asking is that,
We can get it to you, but.
there is that proposal that instead of selling badges, that we, that the state would let us use 2% of the sales tax collected to provide revenues for the beach instead of selling badges. And I'm just wondering, what percentage of our beach utility, I always complain that we pay so much to collect tolls on the toll roads, that such a large percentage of the cost of the toll roads is paying for the toll collection, itself, it's very inefficient. And I'm just wondering how much of that beach budget is actually the cost of just collecting the revenues, you know. So would you please?
Yeah, we
We
can.
can try to find that number for you, but I would tell you that the idea of using 2% of the sales tax is really a non-starter because the money would come from the state, and the state doesn't have any money to begin with. So-
Oh, they got lots of money, they just spend it on the wrong stuff.
What they're gonna end up doing is, they would end up shorting us, and it's important for.
Well, you don't know that.
It's important people, they already do short us on, we get $17,000 in state aid, including they would short us. And they short us on school funding, they short us a whole bunch of things. But I can tell you for sure, if there's ever a shortage at the beach, 100% of that shortage falls directly on the taxpayers of the borough of Belmar. Not Monmouth County, not the state of New Jersey, so for a town like us and for every other town up and down New Jersey Shore, the idea of free beaches means we all pay.
Well, I'm not proposing, and I'm not necessarily supporting it. Right now, I'm learning about it, you know. I'm not saying that it's a good idea or a bad idea. I want to learn as much as I can about it. But just one thing I want to point out is that free beaches is not some kind of brave new world, some kind of uncharted territory. This is what, like, almost every other state in the union does. So apparently there's some ways to make it work. It's not like it's never been tried. So, but I am not saying I'm for it. I'm just saying at this point I want to learn as much as possible about it before it. So.
Thank you. You look very nice in your earthy tone. You look nice.
Oh, yeah, the match is good, right?
And a haircut. And a haircut. Summer haircut.
This is my summer cool.
Your anniversary today or something? What's going on?
I molted when the weather got warm. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I have some questions. Do you want me to ask them now or before I vote?
Well, we'll see if anyone else from the public has any comments, questions, and then we'll close the public portion and just have council. Yes?
Mike Seagull, 110 Second Avenue again, and good evening once again. Mayor and Council, Robin Kirk, CFO, you mentioned the fact that there's some federal assistance we've received that we're using to generate surplus in the budget, and I heard the term that it was used was a loan. Is that correct?
In the community development,
CDL?
the CDL, right? Yeah, that was last year, and I sort of explained last year that it's sort of automatically line of credit, so we didn't use get rolled into surplus for this year. If we do well with good revenues, that'll roll into surplus for next year.
Okay.
And as I mentioned last year too, that it's labeled a loan, but in 98% of cases, it turns into a grant. It's technically labeled for our purposes a loan.
But it is a loan. Is that included on a debt statement? I mean, someone to look at the debt picture of this company, excuse me.
It's not like bond.
Work-related hazards.
It's not a bond.
It's not a bond. So it doesn't show up in the debt statement of the borough at all. It just shows up as a grant?
It shows up as a,
Our budget is a revenue line.
yeah, revenue line.
Revenue line. Okay. But we're using some of that money in the last year and we'll probably use a little bit more of it this year to balance the budget, correct?
And again, it could bleed into next year as well. It all depends on revenues. If instead of 96% of the payments, we get 98% of the payments and everyone pays on time, then that just pushes it more into surplus for next year.
Okay, so that grant money is offset by tax deficiencies, is that my understanding?
Revenue deficiencies.
Revenue deficiencies, in the form of unpaid taxes?
Right, so there are some towns, like Union Beach, I can't imagine what maybe they're collecting 80%. The Seabright may be collecting 80%, I mean, they're getting hammered. We're doing pretty well relative to that.
Yeah, that's exactly my understanding. Our tax revenues are fairly stable.
Could be
or
better.
Consistent.
You know, we could have people paying more promptly for their taxes, their water, sewer, we could. But right now, we're not doing bad.
Okay, the other issue I had was, have we gotten additional payments from FEMA in terms of, you mentioned the fact that you wanted to accelerate payments to pay down debt this year, which would generate an even higher budget amount.
Correct. Colleen, you want to address that there again?
Sure. So the mayor talked about us working with the governor's office after his last visit here to accelerate the release of monies. Robin and I have worked with FEMA now intensely over these last couple of days, last couple of weeks, since Governor Christie put pressure on them. And so we have right now in the pipeline, processing for payment about $11.3 million that we expect to receive in the next 6 weeks. We've also been able to have them add an additional $1.1 million to our Category B PW, which will allow us to draw down more on that. So we've seen a lot of movement in these last 2 weeks because of the mayor's request to the governor.
And again, once that comes in, let's say $11 million comes in, we immediately pay those bonds off. That eliminates the debt service for the rest of the year, but it'll look like our budget just went from 23 million to 34 million.
Agreed.
It didn't really, but we have to account for it.
Yeah, it's a pass-through item.
Correct. So it's not gonna be a reoccurring expense.
How much have we collected from FEMA so far in total? Is that 11 million sounds like a pretty sizable chunk of money?
We have approximately 3.3 in so far, and so again, we're at an additional 11.3. And I would expect that 1.1 that I mentioned to follow quickly. So essentially, we're projecting within the next 6 to 8 weeks to have potentially over 15, almost 16 million in from FEMA.
Okay, and is it possible to know what the budgeted amount of money that we are going to collect on through our project worksheets from FEMA is at the moment?
You mean the total amount that we believe they owe us? Well, we still take into account the pavilions.
Right. Pavilions not outstanding. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to
We can
misspeak
get
on
it
the
figured
numbers.
out. I mean, it's not in the budget, it's not part of the budget, so we could get the total amount that's on the, we get the total amount summed up from the project worksheets.
Okay, that would be very helpful. And one last question. What is the total debt of the borough cumulatively now, as it stands? Which I would imagine would include a substantial amount of FEMA debt, or FEMA reimbursable debt.
You mean the total amount that the borough's indebtedness is from its inception, that it's borrowed till today, or the amount that it's
Outstanding.
Well, we don't have our debt, the debt statement's not a part of this. We can get it to you, but it's not part of the budget.
It's online.
It's online.
It's online?
It's online. It's online.
I have it here.
And that's as of what date? Is that as of
It
the
says
end
on
of the
December
year?
31st.
December 31st.
December 31st. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Any public comments, questions? Connie's standing for some reason.
Yes. It's okay?
Evidently, yes.
It's okay.
I just want to know,
Just name and address for the record.
County de la Bordas, 1002 Main Street,
Thank you.
Belmar. Do we charge for the bids weekdays now? When people get into the bids?
No, on the weekends now.
Only weekends, not weekdays, not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Not right now. As we get later into the season, we will. And for people,
When I observed the day before or Monday, I saw the police, either they paid, who they paid, 2 young officers, special, yes. They was going and disturb the people. They was at a cooler, lay down, relaxing, like I used to do years ago, I don't know. Do they have a right to do that, to see what they have in their coolers, to see what they drink? When we allowed every restaurant, every luncheon, and bring your own booze, get drunk, everybody drinking outside, sidewalk, blah, 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 blah.
no, there's a pretty hard and fast rule that you cannot have alcohol on the beachfront. So if you bring a cooler in and it's got alcohol,
Do you have a beer, alcohol?
You
We
cannot have
say
a beer on the
Wuzu,
beach.
we say Retsina, we say cognac,
Right.
or we say beer and wine.
Correct. No, you cannot drink beer or wine on the beach.
Why? Why they can drink outside?
No,
Why they can drink anywhere?
They could
else?
drink too much and go in the water and drown. This is where they could drink too much wine, too much beer, go in the water and drown.
Well, they can do when you're on the Main Street, when you're on the.
It's hard to drown on Main Street.
Connie, we appreciate, remember, this is on the budget hearing, but we appreciate the fact that you believe, you think that people should have the
I
ability.
believe people, if we allow anything else, why they have to, that's what I do.
Thank you.
Another thing.
On the budget,
Oh, I don't know what the budget, let me know, but I want to talk about
Not the budget. All right, well, you can talk about it at the public.
the Lily House,
Public portion, you can talk about that.
At the end.
and the boardwalk, the buildings.
At the end, you can talk about that.
At the end.
Wrong time, you let me know?
I'll let you know, I promise.
Okay.
You'll be the first one. I'll call you. We'll have a beer together.
On the beach. On the beach.
Off the record, I like
So,
that. See no other public comments, questions, I'll make a motion to close the public portion for the budget hearing. Any second?
Oh, now is
Councilman Carol Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Hubbard?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes. All right, so that closes the public portion. Do any members of the council have questions regarding the budget?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions for Robin. Robin, do you know what our Belmar's bond rating is now, and what our interest rate payment is for this
I
debt?
think the last time we had a bond rating was last year, right before notes down, it was a AA2.
AA2.
Yes.
Has it ever been lower, or?
The last time we actually sold a bond was back in, I think it was 2003, we were AA3. This last time we had a bond rating was for the notes were, and it was recommended by our bond council to get a rating. It was to a AA2. I got a little concerned that it would get dropped, but I did contact Standard & Poor's, and what it was is they had actually changed the structure of their ratings. And a new AA2 is what a AA3 was back in 2003, so we had no change in our bond rating, we had stayed the same.
And what's our interest rate on with the AA2?
Our note sales over the past year, we actually sold a 6-month note, we got 0.4%. Our yearly note, we were at 0.6%.
And just so people understand that, it means 0.40 or 0.60. And also, to put it in perspective, we have a AA2 rating, the state of New Jersey is A+. So we have a significantly better bond rating than the state of New Jersey itself.
Another question. Robin, you were here in '92 when we had the big storm that damaged mostly just the south end.
She was only 10 years old.
I know, she started very young. She's still playing rec basketball.
He was very young.
That storm, it took us 20 years to pay off the debt there. You were here, right?
Yeah, yes, I was. 92 through, we actually just finished making some final bond payments about 2 years ago.
Okay. So Sandy did the whole boardwalk. Do you think it's gonna take us another 20 years to pay this off, this debt?
At this point, I don't anticipate that. I would anticipate, and actually there's a page in the budget document that actually lists that it's unknown at this time how many years, and as the mayor stated, you're gonna see our budgets go up and down as this FEMA money comes in. I would hope that this is planned out correctly over the next 5 or 6 years, that most of it would be taken care of.
5 years?
5 to 6 years.
Seriously? What was the interest rate back in '92? Do you have any ballpark figure?
I don't wanna state that right now. I'd have to go pull out those bonds.
not off the top of my head.
But you don't, it wasn't as low as 0.4, 0.6. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Any other members of council? Councilman Beer?
Sure. Couple questions, Robin. On the special items of revenue, proceeds from developer agreement for $300,000. What is that developer agreement?
That is a developer's agreement that I was given a copy of for the marina building.
That's our agreement with Chef International.
Are they gonna build?
Yep.
When are they gonna start? What if they don't build? That's my question. Just what if, I mean, I know that you had mentioned at the turnstiles that there were some problems with underground utilities, and it's gonna cost a little bit more, and just right.
Well, it's a private-public partnership, so we're partners with them. I anticipate them starting sometime after the summer, sometime in the fall, and they work through getting finance for it. It's the project they did at the marina, they were able to do in cash, so they didn't need financing. This new project, the finance is a lot different because they're going to build a building that at the end of the day isn't theirs, it's ours. And they got to get a bank to finance them for that. So it took a little bit of time. Also, as I mentioned at Turnstile, the underground utilities are significantly more expensive than they thought, or I think anyone here would think. We were talking close to $1 million just for underground utilities. So it's taking a little bit longer to put it in place, but they're still on board. As long as they execute that, they have to build. If they don't build, then they're in default of their redeveloper agreement. We keep their money and we kick them out and get someone new.
Do we keep that 300,000?
Absolutely.
So we already got that, they got us a check ready?
No, they're still working through the financing to sign the,
Is there a time frame? Meaning, can they start next year or anything, or is it?
no, they're starting this, again, we're not gonna interrupt the summer season, beginning of October. October 1, maybe, I guess. you
And
could
the
say.
redevelopment payment is due in full by.
Yeah, it's not gonna be half this year, half next year, it's due, in full 2014, so that's why it's in 2014 budget, and it won't bleed into next year's.
Perfect.
Unless somehow there's a bigger surplus, and it rolls into surplus, and then.
FEMA reimbursement, category B, we got 600,000 for that. What was that for?
That was a payment towards our category B, which is emergency protective measures.
And that goes towards our bond?
Yeah, anything we get into
Going
FEMA,
towards
we
the
use to pay
$1.8
off our
million
debt.
note outstanding for the everyday expense type things that happen in our.
And the FEMA insurance proceeds, now the 485,000, we used that last year, those are insurance
Correct.
for the buildings, correct? We spent that last year? The-
No,
Or, okay, we used it last year's budget, or it's in the revenues, that's all I'm asking, that's all I'm asking.
last year's,
Yeah, it's right here under 2013, 485,000.
that was insurance payments that we received, not for buildings.
That was for the cars.
It was for the cars, it was for
Okay,
firehouse buildings, I want to make sure we're talking about the right
We're in the
ones.
current fund right now.
Current fund right now, yes.
and the 18,000, we got more, this is more
It was
insurance.
just one.
Okay, and then the community disaster loan that we used last year, we have 3 years before we find out whether we pay that back or not, is that correct?
It's a 3-year period on which you can use the funds. And then there's a review period. There's not a determination about, the repayment or the grant for potentially 5 years from the award issuance.
I
Is
have
that
it,
correct, Bob? What I said, remember.
I think it is after, it's after the third year.
Yeah.
We reviewed.
Right,
And
and
then
3 years to use it.
Right.
but then after, so I have it right here. Well, my question is 2014 starts that first year, is that correct?
No, 2013 was the first year.
Okay, and though this is our second year,
Correct.
and we have to hit a qualification in order for that to turn into a grant. Is that fair to say? Is that
It's
correct?
how you use the money, so if, let's say they give us $4 million, and we can show that over a 3-year period, our revenues were down $4 million, hence we use this money to plug up those revenues.
Perfect, you can stop right there.
And we're fine. If we don't, let's say our revenues never drop, well, then you got to pay it back, but that's okay because you never used it.
So my question is, we had a year and a half, is our revenue dropping? Are we going to, I want to make sure this is going to be a grant.
When our revenues dropped, our core revenues dropped, our beach revenues dropped.
You bragged that we actually spent less this year than last year. I'm just kind of worried that we're not, if we're spending less,
Well, no, we're spending less right now. If $11 million comes in, then we're probably spending more.
so you're counting in the bond.
You have to count in the bond. You have to count in paying back the bond. The state requires you to do that on the budget.
So I'm expecting a huge drop in what we're spending because we don't have the money, but there's only a very slight one in there.
No, you'll see a huge drop once we pay off all these. Once all the FEMA money comes in, which could be, hopefully it's sooner, but it could go into 2015. Maybe the 2016 budget looks more like the 2011 budget. But between now and then, as the money comes in to pay off the bonds, it has to be counted in the budget as an expense, even though it's not really an expense. As CPEC mentioned, it's more of a pass-through, but we have to count it as if it's an expense.
So either way, we as of next year, it's still a loan, and then they're going to review 3 years out.
As to how we use it. So if let's say revenues didn't drop when we used $4 million to, I don't know, put in a new municipal building, yeah, that's not using the money properly, you're going to get hammered. That's not the case. If we don't use it, we simply return it to them. But the way Robin's accounting for this is she's only using it for revenues that did drop since Sandy.
And just to clarify, it's also for unreimbursed disasters.
Unreimbursed, right,
Some of
unreimbursed
these
disaster
interest
expenses.
payments that we're having to make
Yeah.
offset with those funds, things like that.
Right.
We have an increased interest payment because of the notes we have out, can also be applied towards this.
The hurricane expense for $250,000 that we put in last year, we took it out this year. I would expect the budget to drop $250,000 as well, you know, on the expense side. I'm just making a comment here. You know, we spent a brand new expense, $250,000 for the hurricane, and this year it's not there, but we've only actually,
Well, our thing about it, so $250,000 there, how much, what did we increase our debt payments by?
We increased our debt payments, I think it was about 150, your health insurance payments went up about 200,000.
Right, so overall, spending is up over
Your
last
actual
year.
change in your current fund budget, I think it was like $43.
It's
So
$43.
It's
Spending-
very weird.
spending is up a little bit over last
It
year.
was like $43, I think.
Some line items are down, some are up. Overall, I think we're gonna be up because we're gonna get additional revenue in from FEMA to pay down the bonds.
And I just want to talk about the debt service real quick. As of 2013, the end of 2013, we're at 52 million. That includes the school, includes the water, 20 million for the beach, and then 20 million for us. How much, and then that's not include the 4.5 that we'd add in if that loan would actually be a loan. That puts us up to 56 million. How much of that is actually FEMA that we're waiting on? For instance, was it 11 for the boardwalk? Is that what we got for the boardwalk, but we did not actually receive it yet? Is that, remember Chris Smith came down to get a big thing?
The boardwalk is 9.2.
I think boardwalk is below.
Boardwalk, 9,661,000.
There you go.
Sounds about right. I think the total PW is 10.2.
10.2, because, so, and then you said an extra, you said about 16, I believe your number was in the last conversation, was about 16 million, is that correct?
We anticipate in cash, again, I'm talking about cash versus actual PW value, but in cash over the next 6 to 8 weeks, we expect to get almost $16 million.
Is that including in that 9.2? or is that on
That's
top
some of the boardwalk,
So that includes that as well?
some,
Not all.
not all.
So it's 9 plus the 16, or just the 16?
No, some of the 9 is in the 16.
Okay, I mean, that still puts us almost at, you know,
Right, just to understand, you're asking questions on debt, but this is.
no, I gotta vote, I gotta see where this money's going, and that is very important to this budget. I'm almost done, The, let's see, if the $500,000 that FEMA said we might have to pay back because of the tipping fees and employment that are as per our press, when do we find out if we have to pay that back or not?
Well, FEMA never said we have to pay back. It was an audit by the Homeland Security. And FEMA is working to give a waiver to themselves because of the project worksheet that they put together.
Well, that's fine, but if FEMA decides it doesn't want to waiver itself, it's the taxpayers of Belmar that get hit.
That's true.
I'm just wondering when do we find out if they gave themselves a pass? Do we have any idea? This year, next year, Robin, do you have any
Could be a
idea?
couple of months.
Could be a few months. Hopefully this year, but it could, the way, our experience with these agencies, I wouldn't be surprised if it drags into next year.
Could it hit this budget, is what I'm asking? Or would we just put it off until next budget?
It doesn't, the only way it would hit this budget is if they gave us the 500,000 and we paid off the debt. It doesn't.
Oh, so we already received that?
Right.
Okay,
Right,
I got you. So they're taking it back before they ever gave it to us.
right.
Government, I tell you. And, okay, let's see, debris, removed, missing. Okay, I think that's all I got. Am I voting right here, right now?
No.
Or what am I doing?
Any other members of the council have questions on the budget? You guys, yes, sir? There's a couple things, think I mentioned this last time, just a couple things to reiterate. The 2014 budget has a 0 tax increase for the 4th year in a row. It's not easy, we have to make some tough choices, but over the last couple of years, we've also been able to generate additional revenue outside of property taxes. It's one of the things that Robin mentioned before was, marina slip rentals, $1.05 million. But we also get $115,000 in rent from Chefs International just for the pier, and we're looking to increase that. And we're starting to bring in those pilot payments. So 8th and Main, where State Gold is, they have a thing called pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. So those are starting to come in. Once 5th and Main goes online, you can see them building it now. It's going to be a little while, but once that goes online, that'll be another pilot as well. So what we're looking to do over the next 4 years is to really increase the commercial part of the tax pie. Right now, I think residential is probably about 86%. That means only 14 cents of every tax dollar is coming from the business area. And that's where we have an opportunity to really grow. And we want to grow the business area to increase their portion of the tax payments. I'd like to get to 20%. That may be tough over the next couple of years, but at least we're on that path already, heading in that direction. And I do want to thank our borough employees who make something like this possible. Our police department does an outstanding job. Our Department of Public Works, some of these guys, we continue to ask them to do more with less. Our library does an outstanding job. Our court does a really good job, although we can use some more court revenue this coming year than we did last year. But I don't want to make sure I didn't forget them. And the other thing we have, and there was an interesting article in today's paper about paid fire departments. Towns like Jackson, towns like Lakewood, these big towns, towns like Wall, are starting to have to go more and more to paid fire. Paid fire departments are expensive. The average firefighter makes somewhere around $75,000 to $95,000 a year without benefits. Added benefits, you're well over $100,000. Because of our community, and this is one of the things that Council President McGovern talks about, because of our community and the spirit we have incredible volunteers. And it's by having an all-volunteer fire department, an all-volunteer first aid squad, that we're able to keep taxes under control. If we had to pay for fire, I mean, you would see that police budget increase at least 25%, and not just 1 year, every year going forward. So, all taxpayers owe a tremendous thanks to our fire department and our first aid for the service they do, but also the fact that they help keep Belmar an affordable place to live. So when they do a fundraiser, throw them a couple dollars.
And Matt, can I just add, what we do to keep the volunteers in town, especially for the first aid, we have several members from the DPW on the first aid squad. Is that right, Franny?
That's correct.
So all day long, we have people working in town able to go and answer the call as a volunteer. And we do allow them to leave the job. And Franny, can you explain that, what happens here, and how many guys we got?
I've been with the First Aid Squad probably about 30 years now, maybe more, and we've seen a tremendous dip in volunteers. It started probably about 15 years ago, and we were looking anywhere we could to try to find the help that we needed. We were depending on other towns to come in and help us, and we decided to recruit a couple of guys out of the Public Works Department who were in town all the time and had access to our ambulances and everything. So we trained all these guys, and there's 3 or 4 of us, and we responded during the day sometimes to first aid calls so that we could get there quickly. And it's difficult to, the state just keeps coming down with more training and more sanctions, and they seem to be trying to push us out of business. I'm not sure why, but that's what they want to do. They want all paid stuff. They want all these paid guys working, and it would crush this town to pay for that kind of stuff. We answer 1,500 first aid calls a year here in Belmar. There's a couple every single day, and all night long. So these people get out of bed at at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it is that you need somebody at your house, these people get out of bed, so they do you with tremendous service. So it would really be horrible to have to pay for that. We do have a paid EMS service on the beachfront during the summer months because we see over 600 patients between Labor Day and Memorial Day. And the call volume is so incredible that we didn't want to put the public works guys out there all day, every day at the salaries they were making. So we bring EMTs in from the outside, and they get, I don't know, $10 or $12 an hour, whatever it is, and they run all day as well. So, there's some personal experience up on the dais with the EMS and the first aid in Belmar. It's important that we keep that going and keep that alive, you know. And as long as I'm up here blowing my horn, whatever your feeling is about Taylor Pavilion, that's your feeling. If you do not build that public safety building at 10th Avenue and Ocean, you are doing us a tremendous disservice. We're stuck in a trailer down there for the second year in a row, a 10 by whatever trailer that we're trying to work out of, and we're treating your family and your friends, and we're treating the visitors that come here every summer in this little trailer where we should have access to a place to go. So I would never get involved in the Taylor Pavilion beef, but please build the public safety building. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear it for our volunteers. With that, I will offer the resolution adopting the 2014 budget and budget amendment.
Second?
Councilwoman Keel Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman Dever?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
The first thing I do is I try to have a meeting with Robin and I ask her professional opinion. I say, hey, what do you feel about this budget? Highs and lows. I was restricted this time from having a one-on-one with our CFO. I feel that is a restriction of my power as a public official, elected official representing you. I just want to put that on the record that I was not allowed to have a one-on-one privately with our CFO as a councilman. But I mean, it could be the greatest budget in the world, and she could probably explain it a lot better than I can go through it, but I could not have that one-to-one. So I don't feel this budget addresses our large debt that's looming above us, and our $4.5 million disaster loan is still shaky, and we're still, raring forward at a full speed as if nothing ever happened. I'm voting no.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Just to address the Councilman Dean's concern about being one-on-one with our CFO, I told our business administrator, Colin Conley, to sit in on the budget briefings for a very simple reason. Robin is our CFO. She's phenomenal, and she puts the budget together along with Colin. But what we've seen in the past is there would be a line item increase. Let's say there's an increase in the recreation for $2,000. And someone would ask, well, Robin, what's that for? Robin would look, I'm the CFO. I'm not a business administrator. You have to ask the business administrator. So then the person would go and ask the business administrator. So instead of having 2 meetings, we figured we'd have 1 meeting where you'd have the business administrator who would explain any increases or decreases, and the CFO would explain things like the debt, the bonding, other requirements. Councilman Bean had the ability to meet with both of them, just as every member of the council did. Other members of the councils did. Councilman Bean walked out.
That's correct.
On his meeting.
I want one-on-one with the CFO because of duress. I want her professional opinion without somebody standing above her. And you know what? That's all I asked for. I didn't think that was too much.
What duress are you talking about?
You know what? If there is none, what do you got to worry about?
But you said that you couldn't meet with her because you were under duress?
No, because of the potential of duress. And hey, you know what? If there was none, so let us meet.
Matt, I had a meeting today with Robin and Colleen. I didn't feel any pressure whatsoever. Plain and simple. Robin knows their numbers, as the mayor explained. Colleen can explain why you raised it. There was no problem. And knowing Robin for so many years, going back 30, Robin's not going to beat around the bush. She's going to tell you straight out, no matter who was there, what the numbers mean. So, I mean, I was fine with the two of them there, no problem.
And Mr. Mayor, I met yesterday for approximately an hour with both of them. And also, it was a very comfortable meeting. And both people were involved in explaining things to me. If Robin didn't have the answer because it was a policy, then Colleen was there explaining what it was.
So I just want to make sure that everyone understood that every member of the council had the ability to have those meetings on this budget.
But not one-on-one.
No, not one-on-one, because you'd have one-on-one and then you'd have one-on-one. So instead of having two separate meetings, why not just have one separate meeting?
You know what?
Or one single meeting. But I would tell you, next time you schedule a meeting, you know, I mean, it's up to you, but it seems pretty unprofessional to walk out on a budget.
I think it's pretty unprofessional to say, you know what, you're an elected official and I'm not allowing you to one-on-one with your CFO about the budget. I think that's absolutely outrageous.
That's not the way this works.
I know, you're the king.
They're members of the executive branch of government, and you're a member of the legislative branch of government. You get to meet with them, but you get to meet with them as opposed to just having, not at my disposal, but instead of, you know, we try to do these meetings as efficiently as possible. These are both taxpayer funded positions, so why are we gonna have two separate meetings? We're gonna have one single meeting. It worked for everyone else, it just didn't seem to work for Jim Beam.
Councilman.
Councilman. On that, I will vote yes. That ends our resolutions and the budget hearing. There are no ordinances, so we will open this up to public portion. Public portion is very simple. Raise your hand when you're called on, come to the front. You've got 5 minutes, say whatever you want. And our first will be, of course, I think members of the public portion for you to make comments. If you have any questions, we'll take your name and get back to you as soon as we can, depending on what the question is. Hold on one second. And name and address for the record. Name and address.
Canada Portas, 1002 Main Street.
Good.
This is about the pavilions, all right? And I know, and Mr. Brian, you know very well, before they burned the place down. Because they burned the place first, Fifth Avenue, then it was Mr. Fax, then it was Hotel Leon, and 10th Avenue, one young man decided to go around and burn the place. As you know, that place was just for the people in town. We was there, they come dancing, learning, for fun, not for business, to people to make it giant buildings. And then we renting to me, to you, to somebody else, for a lot of different affairs. We have to consider about business in town. I'm not in business, but we have, those people they pay rent, those people they are in business, we should not make a business, the pavilion, or any other place. Just the way it was at 13th Avenue again. It was for the town people, you know very well. We are all timers. Then they're renting McDonald's to Pegmatis, blah, blah, blah. Now it's down. Why can we have for taxpayers' enjoyments, but just try to make it sky-high buildings, take away the view of the buildings on the west side, not thinking about the people, majority. Every town should think for their own people. That's how we handle it.
Thank you, Councilman. Any questions, comments for the? Yes.
Teddy Eman, 1218 Oakwood Road, Belmar. I'm a member of the petition committee, and after the initial comments were made early in the meeting, we've been in consultation with our attorney, and he said that here's possibility one. And we have networked with the other members of the committee, and we certainly do not want to see $20,000 spent. So our attorney advises that we can enter into agreement with the borough right now and put it on the ballot in November, as long as the borough agrees to stay the bond until that time. And that will save $20,000. That's one idea. Because we really don't want to be responsible for that, and we don't want to see Lake Como held hostage over a situation dealing with the buildings. Then there's the other idea, which is if you would basically stick to the monies that we know we can get from FEMA and from insurance, and build us 2 buildings. And I have to say this in front of Mr. Hines, because there isn't anyone who signed this petition who is against building the pavilions. Not one. And in fact, that's what the petition states, and I really resent the fact that, you know, members of our elected body would even use the petition and say that we're against building the buildings. Brian, we're not. We're against the lack of transparency. No, 7 million. That's what we're against, 7 million. So we have the FEMA project worksheets. We know basically what it's going to cost to build 2 country club square footage buildings, nice new buildings. Yeah, country club's the model that's used in the I didn't make that up. Was it CostWorks? Yeah. CostWorks. And the model is the CostWorks model with square footage country club buildings. That's what's on the FEMA worksheets for the building replacement. And we'll even go the extra, because the FEMA, let's see, the FEMA is 1.943599 for Taylor, and 1,199,274.37 for 10th Avenue. And then we have insurance coming in, and I believe you have an agreement with FEMA to take the money that would be used for 13th and the money that would be used for 8th, and even add those. So basically, our group would love for you to go out and get a bond and agree to do something with designs, make this work, have the 2 pavilions for somewhere in the vicinity of $4.5 million, $5 million, and we'll be done with it. That's the second option.
Anything else you have to say?
No. Any comments?
It's time for your comment, not for the council, so.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Good.
Thank you. Yes.
David Schneck, 302 C Street. Just before I get to the bond, just about the fire department volunteer EMS and such. This is a very good argument against consolidation, the forced consolidation of towns, is that small towns have a lot of volunteerism, not just the fire department, but all kinds of stuff, community cleanups and everything else. So, friend Steve Sweeney is trying to force us to merge with all these other towns, and seems to think that that bigger is better. You know, if you look, actually all the bigger towns in Monmouth County have higher property taxes than the smaller towns. So, you know, I strongly urge council to resist strongly any attempt to force consolidation on us. About the bonds, one thing, one very important point, a couple of very important points I want to make is about sacrificing, Mr. Hines, the public safety building. It's this council that has insisted all along on having one bond and one price for both buildings. And a number of us have asked, I think Councilman Bean asked several times to split it into 2 bonds so we can deal with them one at a time. And it's this council that has resisted splitting them and cause an unnecessary delay in the construction of the public safety building by tying Taylor to it. So I would strongly urge you at this point to please separate them. Let's get the public safety building built at a reasonable price, at a price that makes sense, and then Taylor we can hash out. Well, let's get the public safety building built already.
I made a motion on that last meeting.
That's correct, yeah. And like Ted pointed out, and like Mr. Eman pointed out, that nobody is saying don't build the buildings, it's the cost. And $7 million just to us seems like a lot of money for 2 small buildings. You look at what kind of mansion you can buy for $7 million, including the land, and these buildings are like the maid's quarters, you know, for those buildings, you know, for those houses, you know. So it doesn't seem justified, and you know, and we would just like a reasonable accounting of why it would be so expensive to build these. You know, this is a very important point here, is that you said that once we set a precedent for collecting petitions about bonds, that then the people that don't live near Lake Como are going to petition not to fix Lake Como, and the people that have clear water are going to petition they don't want to pay to fix people's dirty water, brown water. But it hasn't happened. Those bonds were passed. Silver Lake was passed, the Silver Lake Drainage Project. And nobody in this, you know, in other parts of town said, oh, we don't want to pay for Silver Lake. You know, the bonds, you know, passed. Nobody objected. The water problem with the brown water, that passed, right? Nobody went out collecting petitions saying they didn't want to pay for it. The reason why petitions were collected on this is because it just does not seem reasonable. And there's a reason why that's part of the law, that the people have a right to petition. You know, so don't act like we're doing something wrong here. We're exercising the rights given to us under, you know, the Faulkner Act, and this is exactly why that was put into law, is so that the people could prevent what they saw to be unnecessary spending. And Mr. McGovern, Councilman McGovern, the reason why we should have this is not to prove you were right, it's to get the people to go along with you.
I agree that people
okay?
should be able to vote. I totally agree.
Yeah, I know, but not to say, oh, see, we were right. No, it's to bring the people with you, to make sure you have the public with you, you know, before you go spend, you know, putting us at risk of, you know.
I think you'll find that the people are with us.
Well, they may or they may not, you know, that's political.
Well, we gotta vote to find
that's
out.
political. You're up there, you're politicizing, you're saying, I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be turned down. Who knows how it's gonna go? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it's voted. We just want the opportunity to speak.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Thank
Let's
you.
vote.
Any comments, questions? Yes, sir.
Peter Barrow, 300 North Boulevard, Belmar. I'd like to request that on the next council meeting we address and have an agenda item with regard to the hazard mitigation request that has been filed with regard to Lake Como enforcement in Belmar. It's a reasonable thing to do. When you were the governor on May 23, Brian, the MC at Spring Lake was out on the beach with 6 FEMA representatives and 3 DPW representatives. Got them to agree verbally. They executed contracts last Wednesday. Work started yesterday morning to dig out for 4 bypass pipes and 1 extension of the outflow pipe, that's the main outflow pipe. That work may be finished as early next week. Maybe a miracle happening by Friday this week. But we need dredging early. We need the other items, and I request that we put on the agenda for next meeting.
Tom Gilbert, 1000 River Road. I just have a couple of things. One about the loan that's gonna be a grant. Right now it's a loan, as we speak, we're here now, right? It's a loan. What is the interest rate on this loan that's gonna be a grant? As we speak, it's a loan. What are we paying in interest?
I can get you the information later.
You don't know it offhand?
I can get you the information later.
Okay. One other thing, about this thing with the volunteers and the fire and everything. In my experience, I worked, many years ago, I worked upstate Minnesota in a taconite mine. One day we came out from work, and there were tables set up with men from the state of Minnesota and troopers there. And we had to sign up right there for firefighting duty. That was it. Sign up or go to jail.
Charles, the military, that was the fire.
And there was no questions asked. Because up there where the fire starts, it comes up to your back door. Right there, that's where the forest begins. So this idea of all this training and malarkey like that, we had no training. We were just gonna fight the fire. There's the fire, fight it. It's not a big deal. This idea, you just play the hose on it. That's what's done. Any man in decent condition can do it. We don't need this. Some sort of a situation could be set up where people's names could be put in for the town, and that could be done. That could be done. There is probably a way to waive things and get it be done. I was drafted, I put my name down. I didn't want to go to jail.
So we could draft for volunteers.
Why not? Why not? I'm not saying to get somebody drunk and hit them over the head and do it. I'm talking about trying to help the town with able-bodied men.
We need them.
Thank you, Tom.
All right.
I just want to say, Joy DeSanctis, 101 6th Avenue. I just want to say that I'm thrilled that the Committee of Petitioners has sought their counsel's advice and has solved your problem, and it's not going to cost $20,000 because I'm sure you want to enter into the agreement that Mr. Edmund mentioned and put the petition or referendum question on the ballot in November. So this should be a good thing. And you didn't take his information to call him back, so I'm assuming you know his telephone number. I also want to say that nobody ever talks about the seawall. And I was wondering if in that $11 million FEMA reimbursement that we're expecting, that we're going to start addressing the seawall, because if we're going to be expending all of this money for pavilions, it seems a little foolish not to put those seawalls in, or at least start that discussion, because that seems to have dropped off the radar, and I think it's very, very important. Thank you.
Pat Juan, 119 18th Avenue, Belmar. I'd like to address some of the problems down on 18th Avenue. I'm glad Tommy's here. So far, it started off as pretty wild. Yesterday, I saw a lady, you know how narrow 18th Avenue is? It should be a 25-mile-an-hour zone. It's about 40 to 50. It's narrow because we have parking on both sides now. I saw a woman actually pass a car, and I mean gun it. And if any kid was in the street, we have a lot of kids down there, even though DJs is there. It's a family beach from 18th to 20th. It's all kids. The speeding is just unbelievable. And nothing against Frank. I like Frank, but some of his patrons are a little nuts. It's been pretty bad. The language is unbelievable. Walking by, the shift patrol is there, and they kind of stop them or do whatever they do on Surf Avenue. Once they hit 18th Avenue, forget it, all hell breaks loose, 2 o'clock in the morning. There are things you never saw on film, I can imagine, that they're doing, and it's unbelievable. You've got to do something about it. You got to help us in the South End. My son was down from Rhode Island with 2 little children. Now, he worked at DJ's 20 years ago. And we're on the porch, and I'm telling you, the language, he just grabbed them and ran in the house. He said, Mom, you gotta get out of here. It's gotten that bad, and we really, really need help down there. Really, please, if you can do something between the speeding and the kids, it's nuts. Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Good evening, Madam Council. I just
Name that, Mr. Director.
Rich Seidel, 2010 Surf Avenue. I'm just still a little taken back from, in other words, we raise questions, okay, at meetings, okay, in the public session. We're told, well, we should speak to people within the township, and they're supposed to give us responses. The council will no longer basically answer questions during the session. Maybe, am I wrong on that?
No, hold on. It's,
That's a question.
this session is designed for public comment. If you have a question, I'll hang out afterwards if you want to talk about something you have a question about, or so will members of council, so will the business administrator. But this time isn't designed, it's designed for your public comment about anything you want to talk about.
Okay.
So if you have questions, other things, you can always email me. You have my email, you have my cell phone number, you can call me anytime. But during council meetings, during the public portion, it's for comments, it's not for, if you have questions, we can take them down and get back to you, but it's not designed for us to answer your questions. Right now, I just stopped you at 31 seconds. You have another 4.5 minutes that you're allowed to talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, well, I'm just quite, but when you don't get responses from town, do I have to send an email to each council person? I just want to know the route.
Just send it to me.
Just send it to you, okay, fair enough.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Gavin O'Day, 1903 Snyder Avenue. I hope the walkover doesn't count to my 5 minutes. A few things I wanted to comment on. I've been in town for almost 20 years. I've never come up and addressed the dais before, but it's gotten to the point where I really want to start getting here more and more, as difficult as it might seem. First, a couple things. The recent Belmar newsletter mailed to our homes was great, very informative, really a great snapshot of the upcoming events, what's going on in town, the sort of work, when things are going to be done. Great job. The War on Potholes email, excellent. Sent an email, responded right away to an issue that's been there for years. The boardwalk and beach look great. The replenishment had the kids down there all weekend. Just some areas where I think we could improve. It's been 603 days since Sandy. The 2014 hurricane season started on June 1st and will go through November 30th. The prediction is for 10 tropical storms and 5 hurricanes. Many thanks to Peter Pyro for his selfless efforts and tenacity to spur the progress and action now taking place at the outflow area of Lake Como. Not only does Belmar owe Peter a debt of gratitude, but so do the towns of Spring Lake and Lake Como. But we're far from done. So I'd encourage you to keep petitioning the state, federal authorities to mitigate the lake and bring a solution and peace of mind to our community. I would encourage the council and mayor to take a ride along the quarter mile of North Boulevard to see what it looks like right now. Since the storm, there's not been one single garbage can placed along the lake, and as a result, the tourists each week, especially the weekends, dump their garbage in the gutter and along the banks of the lake. Inevitably, this trash ends up in the lake, harming our environment. No one wants to see that. Simple solution. Lake Como's got it, Spring Lake's got it. Can we please get the garbage cans there this weekend? In addition, there's a triangle median section of grass along North Boulevard at 8th Street where a flagpole once stood and flew proudly prior to Sandy. Anytime there's a disaster in America, one of the first things we see is the flags go back up. As a symbol that we're stronger in the storm, can we please put the flagpole back up and fly the American flag again? Back on March 29th, the town graciously permitted the SEA to have a meeting here at Borough Hall to talk about issues in the south end of town. Following the meeting, we were promised that Belmar would develop a landscape plan with a path along the banks of Lake Como so the town can spring into action as soon as the banks were no longer required as a staging area for the water pipe work. To date, I don't believe we've seen it, and it's 60 days after that meeting. Right now, there are weeds as high as 3 feet. I actually went down there with my daughter and measured against her. 3 feet high growing out of the banks. Can we please get a landscape plan and a timeline for action? Again, it's been over 600 days. We don't need the help of Lake Como. We don't need the approval of Spring Lake. Can we please get it done? Quality of life issues, as Patty talked about. Living on Snyder Avenue, we had 3 incidents of theft in a 4-house span. It seems like minor, but it drives you crazy. They stole all the magnets off our cars for our kids' sports teams and schools this week. A handmade wreath was stolen off our neighbor's front door, and a young couple that just redid their house completely in front of us, 7 guys at 8 o'clock on Sunday night came by and stole all of their solar lanterns. A neighbor of mine ran out and confronted them. They're not kids. These are men, grown men. And these shenanigans take place consistently. It's not a policing issue. The police can't be there. It speaks to the element that is coming there and thinking they can do whatever they want. And people are trying hard to make our houses look nice, and it's just not right. Anything we can do to address that would be great. Sunday night, another quality of life issue when patrons are leaving DJs. They really seem to enjoy setting off their car alarms to locate their cars. I have 3 young kids. 2 of them wear full back braces, incredibly uncomfortable due to medical issues. Once they're sprung out of bed at 2:30 in the morning, they're not getting back to sleep. It's Sunday night, they have to go to school the next day. Again, not a policing issue, you can't police that. It's the element that is there, thinking they can do whatever they want and showing 0 respect. On my block, we have 2 houses that have not been occupied since Sandy and clearly look abandoned with no work being done. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. I don't know what their circumstances are. But these properties have become outdoor toilets for visitors. And even this week, on Monday, which I believe was senior cut day, my wife had to scream at 4 young men, clearly underage, drinking in the backyard of one of these abandoned houses, peering into the windows. I would like to ask, given that these houses are unoccupied, if we can ask the police, just take a walk back to the driveway and see what's going on in a couple days. Belmar Code Red Alert System, great, incredibly helpful during times of disaster. I guess one improvement I would ask for, we do get updates on things like the Easter egg hunt and the pirate event, but I would really like to see things come through like the Ocean Avenue closure for the event at DJs with the governor, Ocean Avenue and North Boulevard closure for the Spring Lake 5, etc. And the last thing, the Borough Skate Park. Young kids enjoy the skate park. I understand that the skate park is closed down sometimes with violations. Is there anyone I can talk to about that to say, hey, can we open it from 7 in the morning till 9 in the morning so parents can come there with their young kids? Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Well done. Good job,
Another 14, 1 week for repair. Mr. Mayor, I think it was at the last meeting you mentioned something about the fact that there was at gyms, gymnasiums, and tanning parlors perhaps, or yoga studios were illegal. And you made a mention that you wanted to change the zoning rules so that everything was allowed and then just have a list of non-permitted uses. Now, I don't know if you're going to continue that, but my comment is I think that's the wrong way to do it. I think when I've looked this over and I have a list of the permitted uses in the code for the CBD districts and the other districts. I think this system has worked so many years, and the fact that you have one that fell through the cracks, I think you would be upending the whole zoning process. I think it would be much easier to just pass a resolution allowing those gyms, tanning salons if you wish, or yoga studios, and just add it. It would take one resolution, one sentence, because if you do it the other way, you're putting the town at risk. You're opening it up to everything. There's a chance you're gonna miss some things which are gonna come in. They will then be grandfathered, it'll be tough to take them out. The best way to do it is the way you have it, actually. So my suggestion, what I would implore you to do, is just to add the one sentence. It'll take 2 months for it to be, resolution be passed, memorialized. And you could add just those things, just as you have it on now. Just add to it. It'll be much simpler, and it'll be much better for the town. Thank you.
Yeah, Tom Burke, 608 10th Avenue. I don't want to detract anything from what Mr. O'Day said and Mr. Eaman said. I fully endorse everything they said. This is sort of personal, and I tried to save it for the end. You started off the meeting tonight saying that I ran for office last year and that I was against the building of the pavilions. That is not the case. You will not find anything that I ever said or wrote saying I was against the building of the pavilions. I signed both petitions, yes, because I did not like the plans, particularly the Taylor Pavilion. I think you will also find, if you check the record, things that I have written from the beginning of this issue last year in the election through even last week. I have always been in support of building the pavilions, but with the pavilions, with the people having the input. So I do take exception to your saying I was against the building of it. Thank you.
Rosatello, 14th Avenue, Belmar. The first two gentlemen that got up covered all my questions, all my comments. I don't need to repeat all that stuff. My first comment is that the first aid building, it should be the #1 priority building that we need to think about. And when it comes to volunteers, I've been a volunteer in a fire auxiliary for over 30 years. Due to some health issues, I don't go to fires anymore, but there are many nights that 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we're out all night long, and none of us got paid one dime for everything that we did. And I think our volunteers in this town are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The 15% increase for the water and sewer, is that quarterly or yearly?
It's to your rate.
It's to your rate. So does that mean every quarter you're gonna get a 15% increase?
It means it's gonna go up 15%.
All the time.
All the time.
So because it comes out quarterly, so every quarter it's going to be a 15% increase.
Everything you pay.
It doesn't compound, it's, if you paid $100, now it's gonna be $115, whether it's the year, the quarter, whatever it is. I can explain it to you afterwards if you want.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate that. The house at 1014th Avenue, the grass is this high. House has been abandoned since after the hurricane. It's a health hazard. It's getting buggy. It needs something needs to be taken care of like now. Because the house next to it, 1002, which I contacted Jennifer today, is supposed to be coming down tomorrow, finally. So I'd really like to see something done with that house that's on the corner with the property. I do know that the borough does cut and they bill homeowners, whatever. Homeowners are gone. It's all in the bank's hand now. But that's something that needs to be taken care of. And I'm quite sure if that house was in another section of town, it probably would have been done by now. But I feel like sometimes the Rhode Island Point section sort of gets pushed to the side. So that's why I always make a lot of noise about our neighborhood and our area, because I don't want our area to be forgotten about. There's a pothole that's in front of my house and also across the street from the house. And in front of my house and the house across the street. This pothole I mentioned about 2 meetings ago, that this pothole really needs to get taken care of, and it's getting bigger and bigger. Well, tomorrow they're gonna have a lot of heavy equipment around, and I guess that pothole's really gonna get big. So that needs to be looked into. And I think that's it for now, but like I said, that first aid building should be a priority over anything, because it's safety first. Thank you.
And, you know, the list that Kyle gave me, and just in general, you know, it's about 8:15, 8:20. If you want, instead of waiting until the council meeting, you can always email me and just tell me, listen, I think the grass is growing pretty high at 1,014.
I already mentioned that 2 meetings ago.
I know, but I'm saying if you email me, then I forward it on to Mike Campbell and DPW, and they take care of it, as opposed to waiting 2 weeks or waiting. So it's up to you. You're always free to come do this, but I'm just saying, if you want to get it done sooner, why wait? Thank you. Any other public comments, questions? Yes, Mike.
Be very quick. Belmar Council, Mike Seawick, 110 2nd Avenue. My understanding is that the original bonding and construction of the pavilions on the beach was scheduled around October of last year. I think that's when the bid was awarded. And then it would have been voted on, and had it gone on schedule back then, probably could have commenced construction maybe sometime in November. My point is that I'd like you to save us $20,000. You're the only one who can make a decision on this issue. And you have a number of choices that you can engage the petitioners who have exercised their civil rights to petition the government to come forth with their concerns. Excuse me. And you have the option of putting it on the ballot in November, saving us $20,000. You have the option of going forth and negotiating with petitioners, maybe hearing what a lot of people are concerned about, the rate of spending, the level of spending is, starting the building separately. No one has really come forth and said they're against the petition, against the buildings, against the safety building. What people are concerned about is the costs, the way things are being done. And we want to promote, recovery in a manner where everyone's needs are addressed. And for a long time, we're hearing about Lake Como's issues being addressed now. We want to make sure we have the resources to engage all the needs of the town and do so in a manner that reflects everyone's interest in the safety and the spending and all of the issues. That's why people have gone to petition the council to be heard. So in terms of the original schedule of buildings, we would be right on track again if you want to put this on the ballot in November. You have the ability to do that. In terms of the $20,000, you have the ability to engage the petitioners and exercise your executive leadership and do things a little differently and make everybody happy. So I ask you to save us $20,000. Thank you very much.
Seeing no other public comments, questions, I'll make a motion to close the public portion and adjourn.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
Tom, I just want to tell you something.